Cheer doesn't make them.
Okay, when you are ready, please introduce yourself, introduce the run, give me a count over the timer, and we shall get started.
Sweet. Hi everyone, I am gdvertigo. I've been speedrunning this game for quite a long time. I've got two commentators here with me.
So, I will introduce myself first. I'm Samuel6710, or just Sam. I'm also a Metroid Prime speedrunner for a bit over a year now. Got a 58%, 114, and 100%. Not PAL edition, unfortunately. We got Caliber here, our mate.
Hello. I also speedrun this game. Not as well as these two, but I try.
Alright,
Well, that's
awesome.
what's important.
Alright, we'll start the run.
PAL's got a lot of differences.
We'll start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so while PAL and NTSC do share mostly similarities, there are a fair amount of things that PAL has that is different that will make this run a bit more unique. And we're not going to see it immediately, but the first thing we need to do is get through the tutorial area here. We got these targets in front of us teaching us how to shoot our beam. We already know how to do that. It's going to have us shoot a few more here. And then afterwards we're going to see our primary form of movement, which is essentially jumping around. Jumping and aerial movement is always faster than ground movement. We can build up significantly more speed. Also entering the morph ball, we can roll around significantly faster. So we're just going to see a lot of interesting movement going through each of these rooms, trying to get through as fast as possible. Coming up in this next room, we'll see one of the most important mechanics of a Metroid Prime speedrunning called combat dash. When we walk into this parasite, get a lot of speed as we go through this room. Essentially what is happening is that Samus has no sideways speed cap. We can abuse that by locking onto an enemy, then strafing to the side and letting go of L at the right time, which will give us all of that lingering speed, and we can use it to go flying across the room. We can cross a lot of gaps with it, and we'll see it used constantly. So we just got quite a few rooms to get through. Yeah, these pirates are, they went through something, so we don't really care about what happened to them, we're just trying to get through. Now this room here, normally we're supposed to take an elevator ride through a bunch of enemies, some scan points, but we can skip that by bomb jumping onto this pipe, hugging this ledge, then holding away, and the game will try and put us onto something that we can stand on, and thankfully that is above us and not below us. We can climb up the room that way. That turret's pretty mean.
Yeah, you can't dash past it like in the other version.
Yes, that is a good segue into quite possibly one of the most extreme differences between the PAL version. So nice little slope jump there. The PAL version and the NTSC version is the lack of scan dashing. Now, while you can lock onto an enemy and perform a combat dash of that, there was a mechanic in the original 0.00 version of the game where you could also do that strafe using the scan visor, which allows you to use significantly more points to dash from. So while it does significantly limit Samus's movement, it also has offered a lot of new strengths. There's the Parasite Queen, first boss of the game, and now it's dead.
Don't think you'll miss it.
Yes, literally. But there's an interesting mechanic in this game where if you fire a missile, you're normally hit with a cooldown. But if you press the A button at the right time, or simply just hold the C stick up, that cooldown gets essentially changed to 0. It's a very small cooldown now. It closes the flak with arm cannon. So now the Parasite Queen kind of fell into the reactor of this facility, and now we kind of have to get out. We have 7 minutes. I don't know if Vertigo's going to make it. It's going to be a pretty tight window.
Yeah, it's the real nail biter segment. Many speedruns don't make it past that 7 minutes.
Yeah, and for reasons you may not understand, and we'll see here right now that Vertigo just got out of bounds. Out of bounds is quite complicated, but the long story short, every single room is inside of this magic invisible box. Inside the box, physics are pretty normal. There's gravity. You fall down, you know, things are normal. Outside of it, there's aether. You just kind of stand there and float inside it. But you can take advantage of the fact that when you fall off a ledge in this game, you have a 2-frame window or a 3-frame window where you can jump. You can take advantage of that by entering and exiting the aether and sort of floating up space that we're not supposed to. Now, in that same vein, we also need to touch certain beats of collision in each room, because as we approach each room, it's not actually going to be loaded. So we need to actually hit load triggers inside the rooms in order to get to each one. And you'll see Vertigo occasionally morph onto certain spots or walk onto very particular spots in order to get between each room and make sure the room is actually the one we're in. So it's quite complicated. Also, very well done. That was a very clean frigate escape.
Clean.
Very few mistakes. A 527 escape is very solid. So out of bounds is quite complicated, but you can break it down bit by bit. And it's also quite hard because if you fall down in this game, you will enter a little bit of influence, and you will not be able to move. Also, behind us is a very important item here at the start of the game called space jump, and that allows us to do a double jump, which is extremely, extremely, extremely broken in this game. Now, we can do something called a bunny hop to try and gain enough speed to get behind it, but it is very tough. So we have this alternative here where we can grab the lock onto this guy called a seedling, bring it all the way over here to the ship, then before one of these combat dashes to get across the gap. And that allows us to get these space jump boots early.
In the normal NTSC version, there's a scan point that you can use to do that dash pretty much right out the gate. But of course, they decide, of course, the scan dashing isn't in this one.
Yeah, POW does not decide to do that. So this is quite possibly the most important sequence break of the any percent or 100% route. We can do significantly more things. And you'll be able to see that with these rooms here where we're just kind of blitzing through, looking to the side. We can use enemies and the environment to get certain points to jump or dash from. It's very potent. So you also notice that the suit we have is different. During that tutorial sequence, we were actually supposed to lose our items in an explosion. We did not go through that, so by the time we left, we were still in our various suit, but now we're here in our power suit. The game actually just inherently, it just checks to see if you still have your items, and if you do, you just lose them all anyways. So, yeah, it doesn't matter whether or not you blow up. Yeah, and again,
the any% mindset for a second.
it's pretty get confused, but yeah, with space jump we can do a lot of things out of order, including get that missile immediately and skip needing to go through the vanilla section to pick up the missile launcher. And now we also have a morph ball here, and once again, because of space jump, we can just skip having to do the mini boss fight to obtain it.
Yeah, I accidentally hit the branch there and
Yeah, that
started
branch.
the fight.
That
Normally,
was like, "Get down, Mr. President!"
another
Now we get the lovely beetle music.
another thing that
Hope he
is
likes music.
somewhat noticeable in this version is the load times. So in
Correct,
the
yes.
original release, the loads would crash in Chozo, I think, quite a lot. So they in later
Yes.
versions they slowed some of the loads in general down, I think, and that's where a lot of the time loss in PAL comes from.
Yes, generally most rooms will take longer to load. And there's some exceptions that we will talk about later in the run, and it'll definitely be more apparent when it comes to rooms that but like significantly longer loading times. So now we're on our way to go pick up Charge Beam. Now, while we could delay this and come back with more items to pick up the other items that are here, Charge Beam is just so very, very important and strong that we want to get this now. Not only for the sake of our routing, but also to deal with enemies, because Charge Beam's DPS is significantly higher than using Uncharged.
It's a bit safe. I don't want to die.
Yeah, that's fair. Some of the enemies in this game can really gang up on you, especially the enemies here in front of Charge Beam. Yeah, so now that we have this, we get to go obtain more ball bombs. So far, we've done things, relatively speaking, somewhat in order. We're just not supposed to have space jump yet. Don't worry, this item chain is definitely going to be significantly more broken than the intended version very soon. Again, space jump, we can use various standables in the walls. We have a saying here in the Prime community is that if it looks like you can stand on it, then you can probably stand on it. And even if it doesn't look like you can stand on it, you can probably find a way to stand on it. And we can use that to scale rooms in very weird, unintended ways. But they're very fast. Alright, now we're approaching Incinerator Drone here. It's a mini-boss to obtain more pole bombs, and this guy is pretty unique. First off, we named him Zoid after the person in the Metroid Prime community who developed him, Zoid. So, Zoid here is essentially an auto-scroller. You're supposed to avoid these flamethrower attacks, but thankfully just the rim of him is standable, and we can wait in front of him for his weak point to just kind of appear. Now that time period between it appearing and disappearing is random, and we can lose up to like a minute if the RNG is bad enough, or save up to a minute. Generally, if you defeat Zoid before the music loops, then you've had good RNG. That was quite good. We also have these wasps here. Again, we just shoot them on the way down. They occasionally get some health drops.
This is the most difficult boss in the game, FYI.
Yes, it's the most difficult to sit through. I'll say that.
That was about average.
Yeah, roughly after
Which is nice,
the music loops.
at least.
Yeah, that fight can get surprisingly long. Alright, now we have more ball bombs. This item is very, very useful, and also very broken, albeit this category does not show them quite well. We will be able to see some interesting tech with these very later on in the run, but for now we can use this to access a lot of new areas, including this missile right behind Zoid. We can do a little instant unmorph there. Normally when you unmorph, the animation right there plays, or just previously. And it normally takes roughly 60 frames or just about a second to get that full unmorph. However, if you obscure the camera in such a way where it doesn't really have a good space to fit the unmorph animation, it'll just skip it completely. And we can use that here in a bit in a different room to do a certain piece of tech known as a BSJ. But for now, with these bombs, we are going to go out of bounds again. You know, don't blink. So, what Vertigo's doing here is trying to get into a certain spot in the room where there is a bit of a interesting piece of collision in the wall that you can do a slope jump off of, basically jumping and holding into a slope to gain more height than you would normally. And now we're just out of bounds, there's no ceiling. So once again, we are going to navigate our way to the ice beam early. Normally, you're supposed to have a lot of different items for this, but you can do this with just space jump if you are technically capable enough. And we are once again trying to hit various load triggers, touching rooms and jumping off doors to try and get the room into a different state.
Also, touching the load triggers is important because it unloads the previous room.
That's
If
correct.
you didn't notice, many of the rooms in this game are it goes big room, small room, big room, small room for that reason.
Yes, you can actually see that by shooting a door and then putting yourself in front of it, because normally when the door is supposed to open and the room is not loaded, it'll try to load the room, but it'll load it without unloading the previous room, and you actually see it be used here to get in bounds. You would shoot the blue door, stand in front of it, and the room loads around you. That was it's pretty solid IVF.
That was very clean.
Only if I could get on top of the stone toad.
Yeah, so
Stone
these
toads are
stone toads
covered
are
in butter.
fun.
They are covered...
indeed covered in butter.
I just need to quickly interrupt. I don't know how you guys are watching the stream, but there might be an advert starting in a minute. I don't know if Vertigo wants to actually live stream the actual thing in Discord so that A, you don't get interruptions, and B, you get real time. If there's a suitable break to do that, because there is literally an ad starting in about 5 seconds, I think.
Alright, I'll go
worries,
after
take
this
that for you.
during a cutscene.
Yes, so now in Hall of the Elders here. Hall of the Elders is a room home to this spooky little ghost. However, the trigger for making that ghost come out is this large box that is just slightly low enough that we can jump over it if we manage to unmorph onto the peg, which we did. And we can hug the wall here with that spider track and just completely avoid it. Normally, if you trigger it early, what will happen is the room's doors will lock. We're going to leave that fight for later. So instead, we're just going to make our way through into Crossway here. This room here, it's most convenient to pick up this missile first. Normally, you're supposed to have the boost ball, spider ball, and super missiles for this. However, if we just navigate onto some standables and then fit into just the right spot there, which is... that spot there actually is only quite literally just barely big enough for Samus to fit through. And we can make our way inside. So we managed to pick up that missile and move on our way. So we're actually just going to head back while also picking up an extra item here in Furnace, extra energy tank. It's going to be very useful. It's our first energy tank of the run. We are going to go into a room with a lot of enemies, or rather an area with a lot of enemies that these E-tanks are going to be very, very useful in. So now item chain's kind of broken because you're supposed to have gone to places like Fendrana before getting ice. So going in with ice now is it's very weird. But we are sort of going to go back onto the right chain here. We're gonna go obtain our Various suit, which lets us go to Magmore. We don't take heat damage. The one we had on Target. See a nice little strat there using the splash damage of the Ice Beam to open the door. Ice Beam's charge shot has a lot of splash damage, so you can use it if you even if you almost look like you missed doors, you can use the splash damage to actually just hit it. We have another change here in this room. Normally in the NTSC version, we would do a bomb jump over the gate. However, PAL has a change where they place an invisible wall above it, so we actually have to use these scan points. It only loses us about 7 seconds, but I don't know, I guess 7 seconds of development time? Not sure. You may have also seen that Vertigo used an instant unmorph and sort of looked like he just kind of did a midair jump. That was the aforementioned BSJ using an instant morph. After the morph ball leaves the ground at any time, a 21 frame window starts counting down. And if you were to somehow be unmorphed during that time, you could just magically jump. If you get an insta-nomorph, you can take advantage of that window and get a jump out of it. So
So
nice
this-
scanning the item there to let the room load quicker. And now we get cutscene boss.
Yep, this is the first boss. Well, technically the second boss in the game for the Varia suit. And this is definitely the most interesting boss of the game. But
Yes.
something to note here, a little fun fact, is that in the original NTSC version of the game, the music was actually broken. And I think it was, how long does it loop in NTSC?
It's, the
It's
first
quite short.
30 seconds, just keep looping.
Yeah. So you
Yes,
hear
and it
the
was
same
missing
30
several
seconds
instruments as
music.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that the fight for Flagra here, just so you know, she's not supposed to be trying to whack Ghost Vertigo right now. Normally, you're supposed to lower these solar panels, and then those bomb slots will open. However, these bomb slots are not actual bomb slots. They are instead damage triggers that will just detect if bombs are close enough to it, and then you'll just destroy them. We couldn't do that for the first one. You had to lower the first solar panel, but from there on out, you can just go outside them and then just bomb them. Flagra will try to whack you. She's not very happy that Vertigo's breaking the game, but thankfully you are invulnerable during that time frame, and we use a combination of dashes and jumps to reach them. And despite how long the cutscenes are, we make it through relatively quickly. And this game speedruns uses the in-game timer, which means cutscenes do not count. So this fight in reality is only like maybe 10 to 15 seconds of in-game time, whereas it takes a few minutes of real time. It's quite funny. And also now, because the big mutated plant is dead, all the water is clear, which is cool, but we don't care. So yeah, we get our Varia suit.
To get to sit through yet another long cutscene after the 4 long cutscenes.
She needs to assert her dominance, man.
Very true.
This thing about it for me is a nice quick break. Have a drink and all that.
It is. Prime has a very reasonable amount of downtime. There's always opportunities to grab a quick drink, scroll a bit. Alright, now we've got Various Suit in tow. Now we can make our way over to Magmor through some tower access. Say hello to the one random Bombu enemy there.
Gave him a quick high five.
That room we just dropped down is a little unique. In an any percent speedrun, we would do something quite different and do a infinite bomb jump up the room. However, in the 100% runs, since we are getting all items, it will be more convenient to come back later with the required items in hand.
More convenient.
So now we're in
quicker.
Magmor.
Cool.
Oh, yes. Okay, so now we're in Magmor. This place, this section is actually quite funny in the sense that we're doing a PAL speedrun because the section is essentially the same. All their optimal dash points are going to be just combat lock-on points. So this would actually look very similar to what you would see on an NTSC run. We also collected the first of what is known as the Chozo artifacts here. These are lore-wise used to seal this thing called the Impact Crater where the final boss lies. They're just quite annoying for us to route in, so we're going to see about 12 of those in the run. That was our first one, Artifact Nature. Now we're actually going to see our 100% route come into play. We're going to get these 2 missiles here. We can cross this gap using a dash. Normally supposed to have the X-ray visor, which is significantly later to use some invisible platforms and jump through it. We can just dash to it. Quite simple. We have this other missile tucked into the back of the room. We'd have to roll through some Triclopses or just budget head crabs, if you want to call them that. Nice little scooped up drop there. Oh, no way you got that. That's crazy. That instant unmorph there is very, very finicky.
Yeah, I've only recently sort of figured out how it works, but I'm still, sorting out the kinks.
It's crazy. Right, now we're at this Mars station, big room, but we can walk onto some standables, do a big dash there, didn't quite make it, but thankfully once again everything in Prime is able to be stood on, so we can just do a quick recovery there. Everything is standable. You are standable. Alright, now we get our second E-tank. It's going to be our last one for a bit.
I'll actually be picking up a safety tank after wave beam, or no, after boost ball, just to make sure I don't die in labs.
Awesome sauce. Alright, so the route here is going to diverge a bit than what we normally do. So the first thing we're going to do here in Findrana is go pick up the wave beam. Normally supposed to get boost ball and then leave to go get space jump boots and then get wave beam. We already have space jump boots, so we can just go immediately. We can also wait out that cutscene to save some in-game time. It'll reposition us in front. We can do another slope jump there, holding in for a while, getting enough height to make it up. Now normally in an 8% speedrun we would pick up the boost ball before and then perform a trick to get an artifact that's actually right in this room. It's currently locked by our plasma beam. But we're going to come back later with plasma to get some other items anyways. Nice one frame bomb. I can never hit that. I can't believe it.
That one's one of the harder ones to time.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of cutscenes where at the very end of them there's a 1 or 2 frame window to lay a bomb in the cutscene. So here's our wave beam. We would like to pick it up immediately, but unfortunately these Shigoths know how to build this somehow, so we're gonna make them upset and use a combination of charge and missiles. These guys actually are given more health in the PAL version. Normally it's just 2 missiles or 1 fully charged shot to take off its shell. Fortunately not. They got... The Europeans love their Shigoth, so they got an upgrade. Now we've got the big Shigoth here.
You should skip this cutscene.
Oh yeah, you can. Oh, we got we got the bars.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Very cinematic boss fight.
Nice though.
Nice throw them. Yeah, Shigoth is quite unique. Normally you would wait for it to do an ice breath attack and then fire missiles while it's calming down or bomb its underbelly. However, if you bomb its underbelly in just the right spot, you can actually slam it with missiles and have it deal significantly more damage. That's another instant unmorph there. So now that we have wave beam, we got 2 beams in tow, so we can do a lot right now. And we're gonna see a little while what Ice Beam's gonna do for us early, because in something like an 80% speedrun, you would actually delay it for a while.
I'm gonna do a quick
Also,
safety save here as well.
Yes.
For this upcoming trick.
Yes, we've got a very spicy trick incoming. So, in roughly 2 rooms ahead of us, there lies this room called Ice Ruins West, and inside it there is a power bomb expansion blocked by plasma beam. Now, unlike something like Metroid Dread, we can actually pick up a power bomb expansion and then use it as a power bomb before getting the main item. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use charge. We use charge to get out of bounds. The Bombus will try and approach you if you have charge beam out. we can use that to ride up out of bounds. I'm going to do a very specific lineup on this door here. We're going to shoot the door to force load it, as aforementioned, and we're going to try, didn't quite get it there, but we're going to try loading the room around us, essentially. What we're going to do is we're going to be at just the right height so that we're touching the power bomb expansion, but we are not inside the box. This way, we will pick up the power bomb, but we'll fall out afterwards. This is a very precise trick. And the room, unfortunately, loaded a bit too quickly. Fun fact, on PAL, this room loads quicker than NTSC, so it makes it so that we have to open up the map, which delays the load briefly. Following a precise setup. Alright, now we just gotta get in the right spot and do a double jump to pick up the item and fall out. And there we go. Nicely done. And then we can just roll into the wall, and because of how sloped the collision is, we can just kind of make our way through, and we've done it. Nicely done.
And we'll have that redundant software.
That's probably one of the hardest tricks in the run. I think we've got out of the way now. So now we can move on our merry way, get the boost ball with these power bombs, and they're not going to be immediately useful, but we will have them. They are going to be an extremely useful routing tool soon, especially with the changes to PAL. We can do some dashes here, pick up boost ball immediately. And boost ball is actually quite nice. It allows us to zoom through a lot of the small squiggly rooms.
Yeah, and especially in this version without scan dashing, you're gonna see Vertigo boosting a lot.
Yeah.
It's much faster than walking, obviously.
It's a nice little room shot. You know, see here in the later games and the sequels, they actually had to add a cooldown to the use of boost ball, because in Prime you could use it in quick succession.
It was, I think,
You can also jump off that
0.25
Sheegoth.
seconds per
Again,
burst.
everything's standable. Yeah, it's very fast. Alright, here's a room courtyard. Normally you're supposed to do a puzzle with spinner, bomb slots, and stuff to slowly traverse the room. We're not interested. We just climb some scaffolding. We're going to pick up this E-tank right here for safety. It is technically faster to delay it, but not by much.
To do a bunny hop here because there's no scan points either.
Yes. There are several rooms where we have to substitute a scan dashing strat for something more contemporary. That's a cutscene right there that cannot be skipped in NTSC but can in PAL. There's quite a few of those. You may have noticed the one outside the end of the frigate tutorial. We also had that little pirate scuffle there. We just used some rapid fire missiles and a quick standable, and we're already out of there. So this area is the most, I guess, hostile. There's a lot of enemies, a lot of difficult movement. We're gonna see here one interesting trick: a bomb space jump to climb the scaffolding. Oof, didn't quite make it there. Thankfully, we have a quick recovery that we can use. Climb this. There we go. Nicely done. Now there is actually an item in here, but we need the super missiles for it, which is just a couple rooms ahead. So we're gonna have to grab this and do a quick backtrack. Here's another big puzzle room. This is observatory. Normally supposed to scan a point, bomb some slots, spin some spinners. We don't want to do that. We'll just do some dashes around the room using these very conveniently placed pirates. We're gonna kill this pirate up here first. Then before we pick up the item, we're gonna take out this guy. What this does is it will actually put the room in a state where it's unlocked. Normally you're supposed to do the pirate fight to actually unlock the room, although for some reason only those first two pirates at the top there actually matter for unlocking the room, so we just climb it up, take those guys out. And we have some downtime here. We're just barely out of this turret's firing radius. We can use it as a lock-on point and grab this item.
This is also like the area in the game where load times are heavily noticeable.
Yes, we're especially going to see it here in a upcoming room near the end. So again, oh yeah. So again, we had to do the backtrack. So just basically this room, take 2, electric boogaloo. Now we're moving into another room called Control Tower. Control Tower has a pretty famous sequence break where there's an artifact in this room. Actually, I think first of all, we want to talk about the pirate fight, or what's going to be lack thereof right here. There's a pirate fight trigger right in front of that door. If you hit it, you'll have to deal with several space pirates and flying pirates. It's quite slow. However, the trigger just barely does not fit within the door frame, so you just jump over it. Now you also notice that Vertigo just kind of shot that barrier over that barrier. It does not extend quite far enough, so we can use a well-timed space jump to shoot that explosive and then open up this artifact early when you're supposed to have plasma. It's one of the most popular sequence breaks. So this allows us to fully clear labs in one go.
It's my favorite part coming up.
Yeah. So here's another room with a relatively long cutscene in the NTSC version. However, just skip it. We gotta kill that Metroid or else the gate might open. We got this guy named Edward here who jumps through the glass. Goodbye, Edward. We've got a couple of items here to pick up. Missile and thankfully another energy tank, which is nice for safety.
And normally,
ignore all these pirates.
Normally when you do speed runs of this, you only have 2 energy tanks, and labs can get very, very scary. So once you get that tank, it's pretty safe. Sorry.
One thing to note is earlier we mentioned that we run this game in in-game time. So because of how saves are, any death will invalidate the run because it's no longer in-game time is no longer accurate. So every run is a single segment on the leaderboards.
Yep. Also worth noting, you may have noticed that this room took a long time to load, and that's because in PAL, this room takes like, you said 15 seconds to load?
Something crazy like that. It's longer than Artifact Temple.
It's the longest load in the game on PAL.
I'm pretty sure
which is
it is.
That's surprising.
There might be another one somewhere, but...
Yeah, they absolutely butchered the load time. So yeah, now this shows where Ice Beam was really handy. Because we have Ice Beam, we can just exit out of the back here. Normally, after you obtain Thermal Visor, which Vertigo just did by dropping down the room and grabbing the scan points as you fell, you're supposed to go all the way back through labs, doing a section of it where it's super dark. So, ouch, Frozen Pike.
Lapons didn't want to label.
Yeah, much of the routing is around the... Since this is a Metroidvania, and obviously
those thicker bets.
Metroidvanias like you to backtrack and go back to previous areas with new items. Much of our routing is circled around backtracking as little as possible.
Yes, especially with 100%. We want to make sure we can try and do everything we can in just one pass. There we go. So, right after labs, we are immediately hightailing it this way. And we're actually going to see why we got that power bomb earlier for the sake of routing. So, unlike NTSC, where the plasma beam door is, or the door to our plasma beam, the final beam is just, you know, a door with ice beam. On PAL, they took a giant pile of rubble and just threw it in front of it and said, hey, you need power bombs now. So, we grabbed that PB early just to facilitate routing significantly easier.
I think later.
However,
later versions, they make it locked. So they make it locked also until you get grapple beam. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's in the player's
Yes.
choice. Oh,
Yes, so notice Vertigo did a pretty tricky dash there to get out of bounds. Normally this room requires you to shoot a few wave beam points, and then again, these terminals in a particular order. We can actually just skip the first terminal and shooting all those panels by going out of bounds and doing something called an infinite boost to get back in bounds. Because of the way that the collision is there, we can... Oh, nice. We can build up enough speed using Boost Ball, then unmorph with that speed, and it's enough to push us back in bounds. Another neat little strat here is grabbing this thermal point, then using the charge beam splash damage to open this door and use it to dash across. Very clever, one of my favorites. So here we have a plasma beam room. Now, in a PAL or in a NTSC speedrun, we would normally use some scan visor dashes to cross. However, we don't have that, so we can alternate it with this very unique BSJ, see done. And that allows us to skip two of the, or at least one of the spinners in this room that you are normally required to use. And that allows us to save a good bit of time. So nice, another one frame bomb. Now, you'll notice this huge amount of spider tracks around the room here. Normally you need spider, and to go across all of it, it takes quite a while. However, we can do a slope jump into an R jump, where we turn to the side to gain more speed in the middle of a jump. And we can just make it across. See, done. And now we have Plasma Beam. So, with all beams, this allows us to go anywhere we want. So now this is kind of entering the quote-unquote cleanup portion of the run, where our main goal now is to just try and route in each item as best we can. And we're going to start that with going back to Fendrana, because with Plasma Beam we can now get every single item available to us, and we're going to start with the far side of it, where we had just went through after labs and then just immediately left again.
hunt for a power bomb begins.
Yes, so after we clean up this section of Fendrana Drifts, what's going to happen is we're going to be taking on a boss afterwards. And this boss is pretty tanky. However, it is quite vulnerable to power bombs. However, you'll notice that Vertigo has 0 power bombs right now. And later on, we are going to get a power bomb expansion. However, we need to immediately use it to get an artifact. So if we want to have a power bomb for the fight, we need to rely on a drop from an enemy or a crate. So this room, fun fact, normally there's a Hunter Metroid in it. There is not in PAL version for some reason.
I think they added it back in later versions.
Interesting. Yeah, we are going to need a power bomb drop, and this game has a pretty infamous drop system because they're percentage based and not, or based on each enemy individually. So nice slope jump, underwater slope jumps are very powerful. So we're gonna need to pull up various crates, shoot a few enemies, try and get at least one drop. If we get a second, that'll be incredible. But this room here, Fendrana's Edge, is a pretty annoying room. We got 2 flying pirates. If we do a really well-timed slope jump, we can basically bypass all of that. We can do another slope jump here into an R jump to get to the top here. This is where we're gonna get our next power bomb expansion in a normal non-PAL Hundo run. We would actually have that be our first power bomb expansion, since Plasma Beam no longer needed a power bomb. Here's where we immediately use that power bomb to get this artifact. It's going to be our second one, or rather our third. I'm going to immediately drop all the way down here. Nice, it's an morph. And be careful that enemy behind Vertigo there that was trying to suck him in. If you land on those guys, they can actually delete your health bar very quickly because you don't get any sort of invulnerability frames. Here's another room where you're not supposed to cross it this way. You're normally supposed to have grapple beam if you want to do it like that. But thankfully, a good combat dash can make it through. There's another room with a few seconds breaks. Here's this missile up here. Normally requires you to shoot an icicle with plasma to reveal a grapple point and then pick it up. We can actually just skip that by doing a sloped R jump. There we go, nicely done. We can drop down and grab Gravity's suit here, which you were intended to get a very different way. Do some underwater. We can do some underwater wall boost. Yeah. If you hold into a wall and boost into it, you can gain a little bit of height if you do it at the right time. However, if you're underwater, your physics are super floaty, so you can gain a lot of height and speed by using boost ball there. So once again, the T-posing Samus Aran. We get one of the best looking suits in the series here. And this allows us to not be hindered by the water during our movement, which is cool for us, I guess. It makes some things faster, but we're mainly doing it here for cleanup. So that's this end of Vendrana out of the way. Now our next goal is to try and hopefully gain a power bomb drop. We've got a few opportunities for it, starting with these pirates. Oh. Nice save. Accidentally held R there midair. Holding R actually puts you into limited influence, and in that you can't really direct where you're going, so it can be pretty tricky to navigate yourself. Unfortunately, did not get a drop from that Jill Zap there. Nope, just health.
Wants you to be healthy.
More. Oh man.
Got one last chance.
Well, unfortunately, did not get one. That's okay. We got Plasma Beam, and Plasma Beam is very potent as well. Does the Wombo actually drop one? I never did.
Yes, it's a very low chance, but it can still drop one. Right.
Interesting.
Oh, looks like we're finding Fardas
No,
without a power bomb.
We also saved that energy tank for last, so we exit with full health. Now we go through this way, and we are first going to have to cross a large gap that you're normally supposed to have grapple beam for to reach this missile expansion. On NTSC, we would use a scan dash off of either Thardis or a spider ball track, but because of POW, we're going to need to do a series of R jumps and use some standables in the wall and make it across. That last R jump in particular is quite tight, and we got it first try, which is really nice. And now we can just boost into the fight trigger and start fighting against Thardis. And this guy is quite tanky. Normally what we're supposed to do is to use thermal to reveal each limb. We already know where there are, but we can use thermal to lock onto them. One fully charged plasma shot and a missile will always be enough to destroy one layer. Thardis also likes to do this rolling attack quite often, and it's quite annoying, but you can make it quicker by hitting shots onto him while he's rolling. They're quite tricky, but sometimes we can use the thermal visor and its weird properties to shoot through some rocks. That was pretty good, got that last snap quite well. So that's the first phase done. Now he's gonna yell, scream, and have a temper tantrum and summon lightning somehow. We just gotta wait.
Power of rocks.
Power of rocks! This phase 2. Now the room is all foggy and spooky. Ooh, I can't see.
Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen.
This is practically the same. He's gonna. He loves rolling around every single time you destroy a rock. Here's the biggest one of his horns. Nice. That was a really good missile.
And I missed the charge shot.
This rock in particular is very finicky. There's only a very small hitbox to where you can actually hit it, and it's especially apparent when it's rolling around. So hitting those snipes is probably the hardest out of all of them. Well, this was final phase. Now Dara's gonna have a temper tantrum part 2. Normally, if you had a
Vertigo
power
hit
bomb,
8.
you could just use it here. But with Hundo, we have super missiles, and if you do it just right, oh, let's go. If you time it just right there with rapid fire missiles, you can just go to town and annihilate Thardus. Specifically, you have to make sure you're staying in the right spot so that Thardus will have to take time to turn around to face you, while also using rapid fire missiles to damage it. And now we have our Spider Ball. And this lets us do cleanup significantly more quickly. Starting with leaving the room here. So now we're going to reroute back into the start of Fendrana, and we're first going to have to deal with these 2 drones. Fun fact about these guys is that on PAL they disintegrate with Plasma Beam like that. That is actually not a thing on NTSC. This is where we would normally pick up that extra E-tank we picked up for safety. Ooh, nice. Oh,
I kind of forgot that there was a bomb in the
Up,
room.
up
Gatekeeping.
close and personal.
Yeah. There's a Shigoth in this room, don't worry about that, we don't care.
There's more Shigons.
A lot of Shigoths. Here's the game trying to remind us what we're supposed to be doing. You see this after picking Boost Wall, it's like, hey, you should go this way, that's right. You're trying to fight Ridley? Yeah. We are like significantly later in the game, so we don't care. We're gonna move on with our cleanup. We also have 2 drones in this room we have to deal with. That lock on there is so very finicky.
That wasn't
There we
too
go.
bad.
Yes, disintegrating them makes it so that they die significantly more quickly and the doors won't lock. Here's one of our first items we're here on cleanup. That requires plasma, so we need to come here first with that. And do a slope jump there, shoot the Shigot to anger it, and then use it as a dash point to get across. For this spider track here, you don't technically need spider for it, but spider makes it significantly easier and a lot more quick. Check these guys for some power bombs. Unfortunately, did not get one.
Oh wait, no. Wait, what am I doing? I already have a power bomb. I don't need another one.
I guess you only need one, huh? This room also has 2 items. We need Plasma Beam and Super Missiles respectively to obtain. We can shoot the Shigoth here to dash off it. That lock-on point for it does not appear unless it is agitated. And we can shoot this door before going to the spire track here, which lets us, as soon as we grab the missile, just immediately bolt through the door. Like so. And here is the aforementioned room where it had an artifact. Because we came back for cleanup with plasma, you can just grab this while we're here. There's a very wacky trick in 80% where you can grab this artifact and wave beam at the same time before ever getting plasma. If you ever want to see that, make sure you go check out an 80% run after this. Vertigo himself has done quite a bit of 80%. There's our artifact of sun. And with that, Fendrana is completely done, so that's that section of cleanup wrapped up. And we are going to head into Magmor and grab our last few items there. And we're also going to see why Vertigo needed that power bomb drop, because there are 2 items in Magmor that require a power bomb, but thankfully one of those is another power bomb, so we won't need to worry about getting a second one via drops. Gotta love that purple and blue.
It's so pretty.
So now, back in Magmor, we're going to go to this upper section of the room here. We're going to use this turret. We're going to use it for a few strafes. Ooh, that was sketchy. We're going to grab this puffer to try and lock the door. Fortunately, the trigger for the door is a little weird there.
I moved
Grab
out of the
our
way of the
other
door.
artifact.
Put the door powered back on so I can distract.
Here's the item that was locked by a power bomb, which we needed to drop for, but it gives us right into another one. We're going to use that power bomb immediately to grab this beam combo here called Ice Spreader. Arguably the second best beam combo. Oops.
That is not good.
We're not going to use it for a while, but it will be useful on the final boss. Because we bombed the door on the way in, or no, we tried to, we would have been able to roll through it. A little tricky there. We got one more item in here. Normally supposed to use Morphball to carefully go through these tracks here, but again, everything is standable, so we can just go onto it and never even have to use Morphball and grab the missile. Oh my god, that dash was that dash was sick.
Yeah, it's a double strafe dash. But
Yes, it's a very niche piece of prime tech.
you basically
Can,
do 2 dashes within the same jump state.
Yeah, basically get 2 dashes into one, and you get a bit more speed out of it. So now we wrapped up Magmor. We're back here in the town overworld, and we're going to be able to grab some of the items here, the early part of it, including starting with this missile, which is just tucked under this tunnel here. Quite possibly the most free missile expansion in the game. I've got a big, very big, tall room here called Root Cave. Normally supposed to have grapple beam to cross this large gap. We can skip that by just dashing across. Nicely done. We're also going to shoot these zooms because they have a chance of dropping a power bomb.
The game
Those platforms there.
100% chance for
Yes.
power bombs.
Yeah, those are good. Those platforms that Vertigo was standing on are invisible. You're only supposed to use X-ray to see them, but they're always there regardless, so you can just jump onto them if you know where they are. And that last item up top, we had to have plasma for. Though, fun fact, the door on the inside is blue, which you may have noticed. So, if you get in there without plasma, it's very easy to get back out. So now we're going to move on to Chozo Ruins, which has a lot of cleanup to be done. So we're going to see a lot of various type of movement, a couple of wall crawls that are worth noting. It's been a pretty solid run so far.
Yeah, fell down on frozen bike, but that's about it, really.
And once again, boost ball. You're going to see boost ball's real utility a lot here. So we're going to start with this item here in the tree. That needs super missiles to grab. It's just easy to grab it first. I'm going to move back here into Rune Shrine. This item here only requires you to boost up a half pipe. We can just do a slope jump into it to climb up it immediately, much quicker. Nice. Alright. Just like with the BSJ, rolling off a ledge, taking advantage of that 21 frame window, we can do something called a roll jump, which is basically just falling off a ledge and then getting an instant unmorph jump out of it. Here's another artifact tucked behind in the back of Chozo Ruins that needs gravity suit. You don't technically need gravity. We skip it in the 80% run, but having it here is nice. And it lets us do this slope jump here on top of the doorway. We're going to shoot that waybeam door, and now we're going to do this room called Tower of Light, which has a very notable palette difference where normally you would just dash across into the rim of the room. However, the first rim, I suppose, the first layer or line of standables actually has an invisible wall placed over it in PAL. However, that only extends to the very first wall, so we need to do the vanilla section where we destroy the pillars for the first one But for the other ones, we can just dash across using the eyeballs in the wall. A little bit of an arbitrary change, but Metroid Prime for you. And now we have Wave Buster, which is definitely a beam combo. Because we shot the door earlier, we just immediately morph all the way down. And for the sake of routing, we delayed this lower item here for our way out. Oh, bladed beetle there. Alright, so now is where Hundo routes tend to vary. This one uses quite the fast route, so we're going to be doing something called training chamber wall crawl. First thing first, we're going to go over to that space there. That actually hits a load trigger for the room we're about to traverse. Then we're going to cross the gap, grab this missile, and then we're going to go out of bounds here using some standables in the wall. What we're trying to do here is get an item that normally requires a puzzle. However, you can skip that puzzle by going out of bounds and then clipping into the room with the item. Unfortunately, Vertigo missed the standable here, but we can recover real quick by using some Aether jumps, by jumping in and out of the Aether. You can make this a lot easier if you find a corner of the box. This lets you fall in and out of the Aether pretty quickly.
Look how big this box is.
Yes, this is a very big room, and as a result, the box is very, very big. However, speedrunners, we have pretty good knowledge of the Aether boxes, but we also have a lot of techniques that we use to find the corner. Here we jumped up to the very top of the room, so now we're actually on the skywalk, quote unquote. There we go.
Oh
good
my!
Recovery. No dear, the slope of the tunnel
no.
there causes us to fall off.
This game is very unforgiving.
Yes, it's worth noting, if you haven't seen something like the Prime speedrunning history doc, is that Prime is very hard to play. And there's a lot of things that will punish you when it doesn't look like they should. And that can include random things like holding the R button while holding into a slope and sliding off without realizing. And stuff like out of bounds here requires some extreme significant knowledge and practice to perform. So now we have the room in this state. We're going to load the next room. You notice that the sky just kind of turned to black. That means the next room is loading. We're going to transition this room and this room called Training Chamber. Normally you're supposed to fight some ghosts and do a series of puzzles. We don't want to do that, so we're going to hit this load trigger. We're going to transition to this next room, make the game think that we are in that room. And while we're doing that, we're going to perform something called a ceiling warp to grab this energy tank. Essentially, when the room is in a different state, the Aether box of the room that you are transitioned to is where the game thinks you are. And we call it the personalized Aether box, or prioritized.
Prioritized.
And if you're in a... Yes, and if you're interacting with collision that is different from that, the game is not going to check if you are stuck. So if you try to go through some soft or slope collision with some speed, you can actually make it through quite easily. And that allowed us to skip that whole section. So now normally you're supposed to have grapple beam across this gap. We don't. We can just use some standables there in our jump. Again, normally if you're doing an NTSC speedrun, you can do a scan dash off of the item drops. We can't, so we're going to use some different standables. There's also Ruin Fountain. We can use some standables here to skip needing to wait for that fountain to shoot us up into the spiral track. Oh, wow.
I don't know what happened there. That was weird.
That's crazy.
It boosted even though I was holding boost. Okay. Go back up.
Yes, but we can skip that section here. There's so very many ways to climb up here. Really kind of a matter of preference. Whether it be a bomb, space jump, dashing, jumping, nice land. So now we're going to hightail it back here. In certain Hundo routes where you do not do a particular wall crawl, which is coming up, you would leave that for after doing a certain section. So, first things first is we're going to grab this E-tank we left earlier. It's faster to do it now. We're going to perform a new wall crawl, or a relatively new wall crawl called Vault Wall Crawl, where we're going to go out of bounds here. There's a really weird spot of collision there where the wall does not extend. It's very weird to bend your jump correctly to reach it over. There we go. Now we're going to transition to this room. Normally that door you cannot go through from this side. It's just inactive. However, you can still load the room and transition it from out of bounds. So we're going to do that to reach this room here called Vault, which holds a missile that normally requires you to open some bomb slots. However, if we carefully traverse, we can actually use a ceiling warp to make it through this little space here, grab the missile, and then hug into some collision above the bomb slots to boost through, and then we just kind of heist the missile, I suppose. And this saves quite a bit of time over doing the puzzle last. And this allows us to adjust our route accordingly. So that was pretty solid wall crawl, well done.
Just going to the Hive Totem now, the first boss of the ruins.
Yeah, so now we're doing this part of early Chozo. This section you're supposed to normally do very, very early. Now we're here with like 1 billion items, and we can do crazy stuff like this. Using a very small standable there and boosting into a space that lets us land in that little slot and pick up that missile. It's a very cool trick. There's a room gallery, a room you're normally supposed to come back after you pick up more bombs to pick up that missile. We jump up there early to hit a load trigger, so the room starts loading quicker. So by the time we get there, the door opens immediately. So here's the room with what's supposed to be your second boss of the playthrough, the Hive Totem. You're supposed to try and cross that bridge, and then the fight will start. You can just skip that by doing an R jump across with space jump. Space jump does a lot. And we now have the missile launcher after picking up like 1 billion missile expansions. Missile launcher doesn't have any special properties. It's just a glorified missile expansion. So we can skip that fight with no problem. Now we're going to move on to this room called Sun Tower. You may remember from earlier in the run, I said we'd come back here later with more items. So what we're doing now, you're supposed to use super missiles and the spider ball to climb up. Nice, get some points. This room has a trigger to put the Flagra boss fight room in a second state near the top of the room, and you hit that on your way down right after fighting Flagra. So the room hides an artifact, and we are going back to clean up. In an 80% speed run, you would drop down to hit that trigger, and then do a bomb jump back up to do it early. However, we can just do it now, what we got. And we're going to fight 3 ghosts. And because of the 100% run, we have super missiles, which makes them very, very, well, significantly easier to take out. You use a combination of super missiles and charge shots there. When they try to dash away, you can actually fire a charge shot at them. They're still vulnerable, and we can perform a trick called ghost juggling if we'd like, but super missiles lets us do that. We can also pull down, or put away the cooldown, I suppose, of super missiles by pulling up the scan visor. Nicely done there. A very solid ghost fight.
Oh, it's not over yet. One didn't take the super missile. Where are you, buddy?
Yeah, these guys can hide for a very long amount of time. They can be very annoying.
They can also move right out of the way of your shots.
Oh yeah, they're pretty sporadic. There we go. We can also pick up this artifact as soon as it appears and overlap the cutscenes, so it looks like this. It's fun. So that's the next artifact, and because we did the cleanup in the way we did, we can leave through this way. If if you did not do the previous vault wall crawl, you would instead go back and then do a training chamber wall crawl afterwards. But this is our current fastest route that we have. So once again, because POW, we opened the gate here. If you did not open the gate before, you would have to do either a bomb jump over or an infinite boost through the gate. And we're going to go back to the charge beam room with our new items. There, where you need to pick up. You are expected to have bombs, spider, and gravity suit in order to pick up each of these. We're first going to grab these ones in the back. We're going to delay the gravity suit locked one on our way out. Fun fact, that door can be opened with a missile for some reason.
I think there's a few other
There's a lot of
doors like
arbitrary
that.
doors like that.
Yeah. Some of them aren't like that though for some reason. I don't know what the reason behind that is.
Metroid Prime. And Retro Studios. They made a good game, but they did not make a flawless game. Here's this aforementioned gravity suit lock check. You technically don't need gravity suit. You can do a slope jump to get it. But with gravity, it makes it a lot easier. So now we're approaching another wall crawl. So you may remember when we did Ice Beam before Flogger, the trick was called to get Ice Beam early. We went up this room and went out of bounds this way. You may remember though that there is a puzzle in the room Energy Core that you're supposed to do after you unlock Morph Ball bombs. That's how you reach Ice Beam normally. However, when we did the Ice Beam early wall crawl, we actually did not open that puzzle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out of bounds and repeat the same process again. The difference is that we are going to load the room around us into the room that happens after the puzzle. So see here, the door ahead of us is actually locked. What we can do is we can hit the load trigger and wait just long enough so that the room will load around us when we jump here. Nicely done. And that way we can skip doing the puzzle. It doesn't save too much in-game.
I think it's a
lot of real time.
8 seconds.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So now we can grab this next item here in this room furnace. Normally you're supposed to power bomb the floor to reveal a half pipe and then do a spider ball puzzle. Thankfully there are plenty standables in the wall. Nice boosting to make us up there. Now we're back here in this room, Hall of the Elders. You may remember that we opted to skip the ghost fight. You can use use the scan point there to align with the bomb slot. Now we just need to take this ghost out real quick. We're actually going to overlap these two cutscenes. One normally plays after kill the ghost, shows that the statue's been activated, and one plays here to show that the route has been opened. Nice one-frame bomb. And we can actually put these two together, and it will put us in the right spot. It'll reposition us, and also activate the bomb slot at the same time, and save some RTA. Another one-frame bomb. For some reason, the Chozo Ghost statue is something like T-posing for a frame, so that one-frame bomb there is over there to the left. Pick up another E-Tank of the run. Oh darn, gnarly roll. There's a weird trick there if you get stuck in the tunnel as you're coming out. It puts the room in a weird state where you can actually get the item below the statue. The statue's collision just kind of disappears. We didn't get it, so we're going to do things the normal way. We do an interesting niche trick there called a roll shot. If you press the A button or the fire button as soon as you do it in instant unmorph, it'll fire sort of in a downwards direction to where Samus was. There are very few spots where it's useful, but that one is a nice exception. So now we're back here again in the room. We got Ice Beam. We're going to now route this pretty differently. Oop, didn't quite get enough speed there. So routes can diverge depending on what tricks you are planning to do. There is a large section in the Talon overworld called the Crashed Frigate. You may remember that we had that whole Parasite Queen enters reactor core, explosions happen, bad things. That frigate actually crashed onto the planet, and it's now hiding in Talon 4. And it has 3 items, and you can either go through it from the front or the back. However, the back requires a difficult wall crawl. But we are absolute gamers, so we are going to go through the back, and it's actually quite a bit faster. So we go through this way first. That ceiling is nice. Has a 100% chance for power on, I'm pretty sure. So another invisible platform there that normally requires X-ray to see, but again, it's still there. You actually notice, if you pay attention to the details, that the raindrops are stopped on it. So even if you don't have X-ray, you can pick up some context clues on where it is. This spider ball track, you're normally supposed to go up with, well, spider ball. You don't need to. It's a lot faster to just climb it up like this. You need power bombs to get through here. We're about to get the X-ray visor right after picking up this item. Nice bomb jump there. Normally you're supposed to use the half pipe to make it up there, but it's a bit more consistent if you're good at them to do a bomb jump up it. This room's collision is also very funky. Sometimes you'll lose speed for seemingly no reason. Nice. So this is the X-ray visor. One of the kind of more weird parts of the run, because X-ray is hard required to finish the game because of a certain enemy that we'll run into later on. But we also need to grab this artifact here tucked in the back of the room. So now everything that was X-ray locked is now no longer X-ray locked. So our illegal missile expansions are now legal. We have a X-ray license for it. Normally you're supposed to climb up this room, fight some ghosts, deal with them. We don't want to do that, so we're just going to climb onto that little standable and do an R jump across and skip that entire section. We're going to see another pretty infamous trick here called bar skip. These bars here, you normally lower from the other side. We don't want to do that, so we're going to... Oh, nice, first try. We're going to wedge ourselves into a space there using a double bomb jump to make our way through just barely. It's a pretty infamous trick for its inconsistency, but if you are good enough, you can get it down to a science, and got it first try there, which is really nicely done.
What happened to my bomb cannon? What?
I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
So now we're in mines, and phase on mines here is probably the biggest route difference for PAL, because there is a room upcoming that you normally go through in an NTSC 100% run. However, in PAL, that door is locked. Now, we could technically go out of bounds in this room to skip it. However, that secret world takes like 8 minutes to do, so it's going to be much faster if we do the room from the front. We're also going to grab this item while we're here. Normally supposed to climb up some platforms. However, we can just do a neat little jump to a small standable. We can do a slope jump here to skip needing to use spider ball to go up the crane. It's a lot faster. You'll also notice that to get the scan point, he had to activate a conduit using wave beam. You're normally supposed to use thermal for that. It's kind of thermal's whole purpose, but all the conduits can be activated without the use of thermal, so it's kind of useless. So So we have to go through this way instead of the other door at the top of the room. It's not an extreme time loss, and it's going to adjust our routing a little bit. We are going to walk past a few items here. Also lay a power on there to kill the pirates, nicely done. We're going to delay a few items because we are going to pass through here again because of a certain item, the Artifact of Warrior, where we need to pick up an item in the later part of mines to actually acquire it in this section. So because we're going to need to come back here anyways, it's going to be faster if we pick up certain items on the way out. So we need to kill these pirates to get through here because the doors are locked. However, Wavebuster actually has quite the use here because of all the missiles we pick up. They can actually just completely melt through the Wave Pirates. We can also power on this gate, open up that plasma door. That'll lead to an item that we're going to pick up later on.
Whoa.
Hopefully.
That was a lot of
some
speed.
enemies in this game can send you flying, and if you hold R and L, it'll retain your speed, so you'll be sent really far. This from Elite Research, this giant fellow here makes it so our routing has to be pretty weird, at least in NTSC, because we need power bombs to open that, but not just any power bombs. We need the main power bombs that you're supposed to get in Phase on Mines, the first one you get in a vanilla playthrough to actually open it. The very weird layer change. Oh man, Calvin. The power pirates, the elemental pirates in this room can get pretty aggressive, and that one up top in particular is very annoying. And we have named him Calvin, by Calvin, because we need to use the spinner to open up these walls. We need to first open up that first one to proceed forward. Then we need to open up this other one here on the left to grab this missile. We're not inherently going to get it first. It's actually arguably faster to get it first or second. It's kind of hard to tell.
I think it's better.
Vertigo's probably timed it. We're bad at timing things in this community occasionally. Also, this room is funny because in POW we actually need to play like a casual player there for a bit. In a normal speedrun and NTSC, you can just go through it with no problems. However, in later games, they actually made it so those things deal crazy amounts of damage. So we're just gonna roll through. Also, nicely done. That room there requires you to use a bomb slot to spin that central pillar to align some spider tracks to go through. However, once again, everything is standable, so we can use a combination of a slope jump, some standables, just make it up. There's also a lovely view there of the impact crater. We're gonna go there later. There's another item tucked away behind that boombox, I like to call it. It actually kills the pirates. There's another small PAL change here. This guy here, this cutscene can actually be skipped if you want to. However, if you do that, it's actually going to take a second for him to break out. And we're actually going to need him to break out immediately so we can jump off his head. Like so. And completely skip fighting him and climbing up certain parts of the room. Here's another room vent shaft that we would need a power bomb for. In a vanilla playthrough, you would get power bombs past this, so it's very nice to have one now, so that you don't have to backtrack. Nice instant unmorph. Fun fact, right there, there's one frame there where you can morph. It's a very tight window, but if you pull it off, you can stay a little bit of time. Didn't quite get it, unfortunately. Here's another PAL load. This room has a lot of beam pirates. You don't need to worry about them, you just kind of ignore them. Here in this room, there's this elite pirate that breaks through. First of all, fun fact about these guys is they take 14 missiles to take out on PAL, whereas in NTSC they only take 10, so a little bit beefier. And also that pirate only breaks out if you have picked up Plasma Beam, for whatever reason. Now, there's that invisible drone. It's there, and now it's dead. You're normally not supposed to have X-ray at this point in vanilla, but because we do, we can see it, and we can just do a super missile. Here's the main power bombs you're supposed to get in a vanilla playthrough, and you're supposed to go through this maze here. First of all, well, you can skip that maze. Vertigo try, but unfortunately messed up. This is the iconic powerbomb maze, and unlike most things in this game, this thing is pretty RNG based. There's like 200 or 300 possible mazes. That one was okay. It can be really long or really short. And thankfully there is a tool nowadays called Maze Finder, where you can just input a very few simple numbers, and then you can actually figure out what maze that you have, so you can take the most optimal route. Now we're also going to do a safety save here real quick, because there's going to be a pretty difficult trick upcoming that could soft lock. So we're just going to do a little safety save. We got another PAL fun fact here, is that there's 3 crates here on the right. In an NTSD game, or version, it's 2 powerbomb drops, but in this version you get 3. So it makes our lives a little bit easier. We're going to boost through there and temporarily hide from those turrets, aka the firing squad. Those guys deal some crazy knockback and damage. So thankfully with all our E-tanks we don't need to be super concerned, but at an 8% run they can really laze you. Here's MQA. This room has a lot of shenanigans going on. First off, we're going to want to freeze these Metroids so we can dash across this gap. Normally you're supposed to use the X-ray to use some invisible platforms and get across, but we don't need to do that. It's slow. Next thing, we're going to once again do another dash across, try and avoid that invisible platform. These Metroids really like to gang up on you, but if you're fast enough, they won't bother you. We're going to need to powerbomb this wall, and then we're supposed to powerbomb the second one so you can cross a spider track and gate to that missile. With a combination of a slope jump and a standable onto the beam, we can just reach it pretty easily. Now we would like to have a Metroid in a good spot here to dash across. Unfortunately, they were being uncooperative. It's okay. Nice. That's what I get to see sort of like a semblance of an any percent strat. That is how you would skip a spider ball in that case. There we go. That was a good recovery. MQA can be a really scary room for some beginners. Alright, now we got another item real quick coming up, and then we get to talk about a pretty infamous wall crawl called Early Newborn. In the 2 rooms ahead of us lies the room Phazon Mining Tunnel. Inside it has an artifact that we need to pick up. However, it is blocked by a large path with a lot of Phazon. And we normally need the Phazon suit later on to pick it up. However, if we align ourselves just right enough, we can use this glider to push us out of bounds and then grab the artifact early. Now do a setup. Can use the map here to give us a bigger frame window. There we go, nicely done. It's a very small frame window, but we have some really solid setups for it nowadays. So now we need to navigate to this Phazon Mining Tunnel room. The collision here can be really unfriendly, but if we play it safe, we'll be all good. You can actually do this without going out of bounds and without Phazon suit if you have enough E-tanks. However, even with this amount, it's theoretically possible. It is very hard. So we're going to put the room, or put the game in a state that makes us think we are in this next room here, called Fungal Hall B. Now we're going to align with the wall just right enough so that, ooh, that was weird, so that we boost here through. There we go. Now, that's we got one more part here. We gotta get back inbound, so we need to land onto a piece of collision in the wall, and then we're gonna need to boost through this space here. Vertigo actually came up with a new setup here to determine whether or not you'll successfully get it by jumping after landing in the wall. And if you see the arm cannon bob, that's a good indicator that you will not soft lock if you try to boost through. Boosting through when you're in a state of a different room is very risky, because if you get stuck, the game will not get you unstuck. And thankfully we made it through. Nicely done. And just like that, we have stolen the artifact and newborn there. Now the Phazon would generally be more dangerous. However, PAL actually made a change where Phazon does not actually start damaging you until a brief time after you've interacted with it. So it's significantly less dangerous. You also grab this missile there. We need to be careful of these Metroids and Xenomorph. These guys, once again, love to gang up on you. And in this room in particular, they can get really crazy. We would use a power on these guys. However, we are going to need every single one we can get because we are going to use a lot of them. So this next room, Metroid Quarantine B, MQB. Normally supposed to use Spider Ball and Grapple Beam to cross this gap. We can just do a well-timed dash and make it all the way across. We can also grab this item here in the container. And we are going to move on to second to last boss in the game, the Omega Pirate. This is normally what gives you Phazon suit, so we saved up about I'd say like 30 seconds to a minute of putting that backtrack. So this guy is a bit different in PAL. First off, he will immediately face you in an NTSC run. When you skip the cutscene, he will not be facing you. And you'd actually abuse that to where he cannot attack you. In this case, he can. But another difference is that you can actually use power bombs to destroy the armor plates, which makes it a lot faster. Now we're going to try and do something called Trooper Skip here. We're going to try and interrupt OP's animation, like so nicely done. That not only saves some time by skipping the animation, but it prevents Omega Pirate from summoning a few beam troopers, which are always annoying to take out. So now we need to use the X-ray visor. This is the hard requirement we were talking about to damage OP during these phases. We are going to try and do this without him regenerating his armor. And we can do that by abusing a pretty simple mechanic where OP always follows a certain rule pattern with these pools, is that he will never spawn in a pool that he's already been to, and he will always spawn in a pool that's furthest from you. So we can use that fact to determine where he's going to be every single time. And we can use a combination of super missiles and regular missiles to take OP out immediately. Nicely done. Oh, well, I guess Samus is dead. Roll credits. Except not, because Deus Ex Machina. Also gravity suit there for a bit. This cutscene actually got changed in the PAL version to be more tame, I guess. In the previous version, Samus did this very cool pose. Now she just kind of stands there. And because we scanned the elevator in the middle of the fight, we can just immediately go to it. We can do some careful R jumps here across the gap. So now that is the lower section of mines complete. Now we just have to backtrack up to the upper section to grab our remaining items. We have one more PAL change here in this room. Normally after OP, this room stays pretty much the same. However, in PAL, they actually added a couple of fission Metroids here, which are like Metroids but more edgy, I suppose. We don't really care about them. They thankfully aren't a huge bother, and when we lay this power bomb, it just blows them up anyways. We can also shoot this rubble to get a chance at some power bomb drops, and wow, we got two. That's some really nice RNG. Here's our first one we gotta use to destroy this rubble. Now we've got another really funky PAL change with this room here. As I mentioned before, we can actually skip this cutscene. It actually takes a second for the pirate to drop out. And this barrier only appears when he gets out of his cage. So you can just, you know, leave before that happens. And you just can't do that on NTSC. And that actually makes this room much faster on PAL, which is pretty ironic. So now we make our way back up here. We have one more item in this upper room to get, one more major item, the grapple beam. We opted to skip it so we could grab it on our way back. We can do a pretty careful jump here onto this spire track to make our way up. Nicely done. Oh, that Metroid almost made everything worse. Another pile change there. There's power bomb rubble there. And another pile change is that there's a cutscene there that is different, and you can skip it.
I forgot
So
to
it's cool.
let it play. Or let it play.
It's okay. She just thrusts her arm out. Right, now we just drop down bottom of the room. And now we're going to go fight that aforementioned pirate that we needed the main power bombs for. Again, power loads. This room in particular is quite intensive on the game, so it takes a while to load. This part here normally takes 24 missiles, but I do believe it is a bit chunkier as well.
No, I think this one's the same.
And I gotcha. Some people in the randomizer community call this guy here Philip, the Phazon Elite Pirate, who hides this artifact here, which is why we need to come back. So now we're going to pick up some of the items that we had passed earlier, starting with the flamethrower. They're going to be the last of our beam combos to pick up, and definitely the most underwhelming one, especially with a name like a flamethrower. These beam pirates here are going to harass us a little bit, but we don't need to fight them unlike the first time. Oh yeah, that is also a thing, isn't it? That you can power bomb beam pirates, huh?
Yeah, the spare power bomb there helps quite a lot. So they don't bug you on the way
Yeah,
out.
that is a change that NTSC did not have, was you can actually use power bombs to kill any elemental pirates. Here's one more item. We power bombed it, or rather we're going to power bomb now. We'll pick this up now on our way out. And just like that, Phazon Mines is done. So we are almost wrapped up with the 100% section. We only have a few more missiles and E-tanks to pick up. But you may remember earlier that I mentioned that frigate can be done either front or backwards. It's just that if you do it backwards, you have to do a tree wall crawl. We are going to go do that now. We're not going to see it for some time, so we're going to see some movement for now. Just pretty normal behavior for reverse frigate. The main benefit for doing it backwards is that if you do it from the front, you need to activate several thermal conduits and sit through several cutscenes as you climb up. And generally, most of the rooms, you're going to be going up them instead of down them, which can make it a bit slower. The only exception is one of the big rooms' main reactor. So this will make it extremely speedy. I'm going to start with this energy tank right here. Fun fact about this room, there's a very weird invisible ceiling here, so you have to delay your space jump or else you get bonked.
That's due to the water box in the room that I'm currently. Just if you if you enter a water box with, I think it's faster than default movement speed. The game just kind of stops all your speed at once.
Yes, water in this game is very weird. There's another item that requires super missiles. This room is quite funky, but we can get out quite quickly by doing a tricky bomb space jump here if we manipulate the camera correctly.
Oh, it's not being cooperative. Okay.
There we go. And you also notice we're out of the water, but we're not out of the water. And it'll be like this for some time. We're back in the water now, so it looks normal, but we're going to be aquatic Samus for some time. Here's our final E-tank of the run, wrapping it up with a clean 14. Here's probably the biggest room that we're going to have to climb here in Reverse Frigate. Thankfully, we can use this conveniently placed thermal conduit to do a dash and facilitate some of that movement. If you remember, this was actually the same room that the Parasite Queen fell in and made it blow up. There we go, still on the water. So here's the big trick of this room. First off, we need to do a uber bomb jump out of bounds. Like this, there's a hole there. We can manipulate the bomb timer to let us lay 5 bombs in a row. It's quite technical and tricky, but if you are... There's a consistency to it. Yeah, that was a nice camera. The reason we're doing this is because the next door actually is not activated. This is the only exception to the thermal conduits not needing to be activated. This one you do. However, we can do that from out of bounds. And thankfully there's a sequel right in front of it to do it. Nice, and we also get an instant unwarp jump out of it. So we use a charge shot in the right spot, we can activate the thermal conduit and make our way through. Nicely done. Those bomb jumps are really, really, really useful in the low percent runs or the NSJ runs, where you do not have that double jump. So you have to traverse rooms like these without the use of space jump, which can be really tricky. So I assure you that we're in the air, on land and not in the water right now. It's just we got the very watery camera. Now we need to pick this item up because we did not route through the front frigate. Just need to do a very small detour. Fun fact, the room right in front of this leads to a room where the first secret world was discovered. So now it's underwater, but bright, and now we come out of the water, and it's not underwater and bright. And this is only a PAL thing, yeah?
Yeah, this is a PAL exclusive, I think. It might be in another
My favorite PAL exclusive bugs.
Sunken Talon.
Indeed. Now we finally get our last pixel here. It's not quite 100% yet. We need to grab our final artifacts that we've left behind in the artifact temple where we're going to fight our final bosses. So we're going to get the underwater ship save. We refill all our ammunition here. I'm going to do one more slope jump here into this corner to make our way up.
My second favorite part of the
Here's
run.
another palace range. This cutscene can be skipped. Quite nice.
This is the
Now we got
longest
our effective
load
load.
TNT.
That was a pretty good smiley face. Drawn with R is actually quite hard. Alright, so we got a boss fight coming up called Ridley. Ridley, or rather Meta Ridley, got some changes in PAL. One of the primary ones is just that his health is a little bit chunkier. So we're, instead of using Plasma Beam, which is normal, we're going to use a Super Missile and some rapid fire missiles here.
Actually, the reason why we do the rapid fire missile and supers is because you cannot do mid-air boost on this version of Ridley. His health is
gotcha.
actually
Makes more sense.
the exact same.
Gotcha, thank you. Okay, yeah. But what Vertigo is referring to is that only an NTSC version. When Ridley is dive-bombing you, there are opportunities where you can use Boost Ball into him. And the reason we want to do that is Ridley is actually extremely vulnerable to Boost Ball because Boost deals like tens of thousands of damage per frame. And Ridley is not immune to that. So we can boost into his chest and just delete most of his health bar. Another PAL change is this phase right here. Vertigo is actually going to be using Ice Beam and Ice Spreader in this case to deal the most amount of damage possible. In these phases where he's trying to hit Ridley when its mouth is open, usually you just need one Power Beam charge shot and we use Rapid Fire Missiles and NTSC. However, that is significantly slower, so instead we're going to use a combination of Ice Beam and missiles. Nice shot.
I accidentally messed
There we
up
go.
my timing, so I had to wait for the go back down.
Yeah,
That
so
was a really
it's
good
the Ridley
fight.
fight. Yeah, it was solid. And also worth mentioning, because we're underwater, Samus's radiating phazon suit is very, very apparent. So we're going to see this nice blurry blob on our screen. And now we're going to enter our final area. Unfortunately, we are no longer going to get submerged video game. But Impact Crater here is going to house the two final bosses, Metroid Prime Exoskeleton and Metroid Prime Essence. The first one has not changed a large amount, but any changes that are worth noting we'll get to. For now, we're just going to climb through this one split room, and climb through one very large room called Phazon Core. Now, there are two Metroids in here, occasionally known as Jack and Jill. They can be really aggressive, but we can skip most of the platforming in this room by doing a BSJ or doing a slope jump right there, as Vertigo is now showing you, to climb up these sort of tendrils in the wall. These Metroids are really aggressive sometimes.
I messed up my movement really badly there, so that's why they caught up with me.
Yeah. That skips roughly half the platforming, is that little section. That makes this room seemingly faster. You can also grab a lock-on from that Metroid. We turn to the side and do a combat dash, here a little bit of time. There is a way to skip the final bosses, but because this is a 100% speedrun, having all our items makes it very, very fast. So the thing with the Metroid Prime Exoskeleton is it's essentially color matching. It switches between power beam, wave beam, ice beam, and plasma beam. It'll vary between the sub-chambers, which are the different levels essentially. This time it's going to be power and wave, and it can start with either one. Start with wave. Optimally, we want to have it in power phase as much as possible because super missiles are extremely strong. And one super one power beam charge shot will do it. Now the key thing is that every sub-chamber afterwards will add an extra beam to it. So for this sub-chamber we will also get ice beam thrown in. It can still start with any of them. Optimally we get either power bomb, power beam, or ice beam. Ice beam's there, that's pretty solid. You can use ice spreader here, that'll just immediately one-shot it. The thing is that after you do this, Essence will, or rather Exo, we'll call it, will try and charge you. The thing is that as it charges you, it actually leaves itself vulnerable on the way and when it turns around. So we can actually use Ice Spreader to deal with it. It'll immediately skip the next phase, which is Wave Beam phase, so I'll always go into power now because it can only be those three. It'll swap between them. It's a pretty good sub-chamber 2. Now this last one, it will add in Plasma, and here's going to be one of the very few PAL changes for final bosses here, is that Exo will try and do this sort of like suck attack, I suppose. In an NTSC version, you are able to damage him during that, but in PAL you are not. So you just have to bonk, and then I'll let you go. We got Wave first, which isn't too bad. Wave Buster makes it a lot quicker. There's a nice shot, a run-by shot.
Oh, hello. You've done that.
That's it's an interesting attack pattern. It's pretty rare. There we go. Now, if we can get both this run-by shot and the turnaround, we can skip the next phase completely. Like so. Nicely done. Now again, because Ice Spreader one-shots it, we can just wait for the turnaround. It's a lot easier. There we go, completely skip the plasma phase. Now this final sub-chamber is where things can go bad really quickly. Exo is pretty RNG heavy with what beams are in order. In this one in particular, however, Exo basically has free reign over what beams it wants to choose, and it can randomly switch between beams in that regard. Start with Wave here, but it can be doing whatever, and it can just immediately switch, and it can switch rapidly over and over again. I've seen like 7 beam switches in a row, and it can really mess you up.
Or she would.
Like so.
I don't want to use Wave Buster. I don't have a lot of missiles.
Wave Beam Charge Shot is the lowest DPS option. So generally we like to have, I mean, practically anything else.
What are you doing?
Okay, went from power to ice there. Ice is not up. You do have to be careful of these two orbs here. Exo's orbs that it fires travel to you very slowly, but if they do hit you, they deal massive damage and can leave you paralyzed for some time. It's a nice item spreader shot that immediately takes out Exo. So that's the first phase of the fight done. Nicely done. And now we're going to move on to the essence of Metroid Prime, which was hiding inside that exoskeleton. And the essence got changed a fair amount. The main thing is that it's extremely, not inherently extreme, just a fair bit more tanky. So it's going to require us to do some different strats in order to take it out. Another thing was a bit of tech that was taken out of the pools that I'll explain soon, but first off we're going to manipulate essence here to face in front of us. It'll always try to face behind us, but if we face away at the edge of the pool, it'll always end up in front. So now you notice that Vertigo is firing in intervals here. What's happening is that Vertigo is canceling each animation here from essence, and when it does that, it cycles more quickly to its pool laying animation. So this way we get essence to lay a pool much quicker, and then once it does that, then we can expend rest the pool. We're going to repeat that several times here to whittle down Essence's HP. We just need to be careful of getting pool skipped, where Essence is too close to the exoskeleton corpse. It will skip the pool laying animation and switch visors without laying a pool, which can lose us a lot of time. Thankfully, Essence is being relatively cooperative. To do one more here. The piece of tech that was removed is something called pool canceling, where in NTSC you could step out of the pool and fire a shot and not waste the pool's energy. However, in PAL, that was essentially removed. There is a way to do it, however, it's much more difficult. So instead, we are just going to go with these strats. Metroids will always come out of that, however, we can use power bombs to deal with it. This is a little bit of a finicky spot here. We could cycle through its animations to try and get one where it'll move away from the exoskeleton. Essence's behavior, however, is very, very sporadic and RNG heavy, so we may not be able to get to cooperate. Oof, I think that's okay. Oh, that's so sketchy. Okay, unfortunately we ran out of pool there. Trying to get Essence in the right spot can be really annoying sometimes. Alright, we did not get pool canceled.
Time's coming up as well once the cutscene starts.
Yeah, I'll make sure to let him know. Alright, almost there. Just gotta whittle down SSP and get ready. Oh, really?
It's a
wow.
sliver of hell. Literally one.
That's great. I can't tell you how many times we've had this issue. There's a lot of times where S's you tend to have to eyeball the health in order to tell. In stuff like any %, where there's a more traditional strat, you can count the amount of shots you've hit if you've done it correctly. However, there have been way too many instances where we're just one shot short, and S's health just becomes a pixel. Okay, so we're gonna get time here in just a second. Ready. And time. There we go. GG. That was a pretty solid run. A solid 152.40. Yeah, that was the PAL Metroid Prime Hunter speedrun. I mean, PAL, a lot of people avoid running this game if they only have a PAL copy, but the thing is that, especially with Vertigo, PAL can be really fast, even with the changes, you know, and it's probably with runs like these. This one was really solid.
Yeah, this could be, I don't know, I think like top 20 on the leaderboard. PAL is runnable. Really anyone can run it. It's not that much slower. The main slowdowns is just load time, so you can easily progress in this game with PAL if you've got it.
Choso's faith in Samus has been well rewarded, and now a new star shines in the universe.
Now, because
the bounty
it's PAL, we get some nice narration here.
And fate await her.
First of all, just thank you for the run, I guess.
Yeah, that was good. I hope more people play Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime it's hard to play, but it's a very fun speedrun, and it's very, very rewarding. I'll say that. Thank you very much for having us.
No problem at all. Thank you for submitting, of course, and thank you for taking part. In any case, everybody, we are soon going to go over to our final run of Mini InstaSpeedathon 2024. Which will be The Sims 3 Max Job with expansions restricted by Lieutenant Corporal Falco. So stick around to see that. That will be in about 15 minutes time once we get back to the intermission screen and all that stuff and get ready for that one. Don't forget, of course, we are doing this as a charity event for Everyone Can. If you would like to donate, type exclamation mark donate in the chat. I know the bot has also been posting the link periodically as well. But type exclamation mark donate in the chat to get the link to the donation page. Fill out the form, and donations from that will go to Everyone Can, subject to the terms and conditions on the donation page. The assumption being, of course, that we take 10% of all donations just to cover our own running costs. But the total you see on the stream and the total you see on the website is the eventual total we will be donating to Everyone Can after the event. Currently does not include things like Twitch revenue because we haven't calculated it yet. But if you watch an advert or anything like that, which I know there's been a few adverts during this run, and apologies for the adverts, I know they're quite annoying. However, we do get a little bit of revenue from that, and that does help us with the eventual total we donate to Everyone Can at the end. But also, if you have a spare Prime subscription that you'd like to use, or if you subscribe to the InstaSpeedathon Twitch channel, or even some bits to donate as well, they will also count towards some of the donation we make to Everyone Can at the end of the event. Half of our Twitch revenue from this event will go to Everyone Can as well. That will be calculated obviously at the end of the event, but we will donate that to Everyone Can alongside the donation we make to them after the event from the InstaSpeedathon. There are no more incentives on the website though, so if you do donate, then you can just donate. There's no other incentives or anything like that to add to the actual donation this time, as they've all passed now. But we will be going over to our very final run of Mini InstaSpeedathon 2024. And then we'll obviously, as per usual, mention what we're going to hopefully do next at the end of the marathon as well. So, thank you to Vertigo for the run. Thank you to the commentators for the commentary as well. Do you guys have any last things you'd like to say before we finish?
Play Metroid Prime. Also,
Yeah, play the game.
follow Vertigo. Does more of this on his Twitch. So if you do like Metroid Prime, I would recommend dropping that. It'll be twitch.tv/gdvertigo.
Yeah, thank you so much
And
for
that's about
having me on. Had a lot of fun.
No problem at all. Thank you for taking part. We'll hopefully see you again next time.
Thank you. We'll see you next mission.